Okay, to consistently be vertical at contact, you have to learn to swing with as little wrist and forearm movement as possible. You have to learn to swing from the shoulder. Remember, if you're using your wrist and forearm, remember you can get all kinds of scenarios for your racket face at contact. If you're using the wrist and forearm, you may get this. That one's going to hit the back fence. You may roll your wrist and forearm at the right moment. That one will stay in the court. And then if you're rolling a little too early, that one's going to go in the net. So you're never quite sure what you're going to get. Really, what you need to do is get the proper grip and then swing from the shoulder. Now, if you are holding a semi-western grip, if you notice with semi-western, the racket face is automatically closed. Now, once I drop the racket a foot below the contact point, I'm guaranteed vertical as I swing up, as long as I don't play around with the wrist and forearm if I swing from my shoulder. Now, if you're holding an eastern grip, you're going to have to turn the wrist or the palm of the hand in a little bit, because with eastern you're going to tend to be a little flatter here or vertical here, but you want to close it up a little bit by pushing the palm down. So if the palm is down and you're a foot below the contact point, simply swing from your shoulder low to high, and there's your hit. You're vertical at contact every time. All right, this next drill will help you be consistently vertical at contact. Remember, this is the position you want the ball when you're driving the ball and hitting it with topspin from the baseline, a vertical position. Now remember, palm down. Once the palm is down here, now if you swing from your shoulder, remember you're guaranteed vertical here. So we're going to think swing from the shoulder. We don't want a lot of movement with the wrist and the forearm. So concentrate on those 2 points. Palm down, swing from the shoulder. Here we go. Notice the palm is down and the forward swing is from the shoulder with very little wrist and forearm movement. Be consistently vertical at contact with our backhand. Again, it's similar to the forehand. We want as little forearm and wrist movement as possible. We want to use the shoulder as the hinge. Just like a door moves on the hinges, we want the swing, the movement on the swing to be from the shoulder. That's the hinge. So once you set the racket face down at the low point of the backswing, simply swing up from your shoulder and you're guaranteed vertical there. Now remember, on the finish, let's think create the archway. If you notice, my arm and racket have created an archway there. By having this as our checkpoint on the finish, it helps you have less movement with the forearm and wrist, and you tend to swing more from the shoulder. Because when you use that wrist and forearm, many times you'll finish low, like this, or down here. But when you strive to finish high, you'll have less movement with the wrist and forearm. Okay, these 2 points, swing from the shoulder, create the archway, again, will help you. If you're concentrating on thinking of swinging from the shoulder, there's less of a chance of movement with your forearm and your wrist. So by swinging from the shoulder, you have a better chance of the racket staying on line and staying vertical at your contact point. Creating the archway on the finish, again, is a good checkpoint for your finish. By striving to get to this position here, creating the archway, again, there's less of a chance that you're going to try and use your forearm and wrist. And when you do that, notice where I finish. See, I finish low. But if you're striving to finish high, there's less of a chance of that forearm and wrist movement. Okay, here we go. Swing from the shoulder, create the archway. Notice the hinge on the swing is the shoulder. Hey Linda, this next drill will prevent your backhands from going long, okay? When you're in your ready position, close up the face of the racket a little bit like this, okay? Now you've got the face of the racket closed. Now keep it closed as you go back. See how the racket's closed here? The racket face is tilted down. Don't open up like this.
Okay.
Keep the racket face closed. Now at this point, remember you're going to go down. Now where's the palm of your left hand facing?
Down.
Palm down, okay? So face closed, palm down, then just swing. Let your swing go, remember, shoulder to the chin. But the 2 points we're working on right now, remember, we never think of more than 2, are face closed and palm down, okay? So close it up now in the ready position, that's it. So concentrate on those 2, face closed, palm down. Here we go. Notice the racket face is closed and the palm is down. This will prevent your two-handed backhand going long beyond the baseline. Okay, I've got a great drill that you can practice to improve your consistency and make sure that you're vertical at contact. Now you can practice this at home or up against the fence or at home against the wall. Simply put an X on the fence or wall and that's your contact point. Okay, now if you're practicing forehand, you want to be at least 1 foot to 1.5 feet away from the fence or wall with your racket back. Now remember, you've got to drop the racket 1 foot lower than that X. Now as you drop it down with the forehand, make sure the front foot steps right up to the fence. So step up to the fence, drop the racket down. Now at this point, the racket is 1 foot below the contact point here. Now simply swing from your shoulder. And you'll see I'm swinging from the shoulder. The racket is continually vertical here. And just practice that. Make sure the shoulder is the hinge, not the wrist and the forearm. If you notice, I'm not using my wrist and forearm at all. Now, when you get to this point, the ball's only on the strings for milliseconds and it's gone. Now, if you flick your wrist a little bit here, it's not going to hurt so much. But if you start flicking the wrist back in here, trying to get vertical, that's going to kill your consistency. Now, if you're practicing this with your backhand, stand further away from the fence, because remember, on a backhand, you're going to hit the ball at least 1 foot to 1.5 feet in front of the lead foot. So just step back a little more. Drop the racket down again. Non-hitting hand, the face of the racket is facing down. Then simply swing from the shoulder. Again, racket is vertical. Concentrate on this. If you practice this, it'll really make a huge difference the next time you go out on the court. Okay, with a two-handed backhand, same thing, but now again you can move in closer. It's more like hitting a with your non-dominant hand. For a right-hander, it's like hitting a left-handed forehand. For a left-hander, it's like hitting a right-handed forehand. So in this position here, you're about 1 foot away from the fence. Drop it down, and again come up. But just concentrate on swinging from the shoulders, not using the wrist and the forearms. So practice that one, and it'll really pay off next time you get out on the court.